The ship hummed with a quiet rhythm like a living heart as it sailed through the velvet dark. Lisa stood near the central chamber of the vessel, her bare feet resting on a floor that felt warm and slightly yielding like moss under morning dew around her. The walls pulsed with soft light shifting from deep indigo to pale silver. In slow waves, she no longer wore her human uniform. Instead, her body was wrapped in a flowing garment, woven from living fibers that adjusted to her mood, tightening when she tensed, loosening when she breathed deep. Zara stood nearby, observing not with eyes alone but with her entire being. The Queen's crystalline filaments glowed faintly as she absorbed Lisa's silent questions. "You are wondering if this is real," Zara said, her voice not spoken but felt like a breeze against Lisa's thoughts. Lisa nodded. She had not spoken since they left the station. Not because she had nothing to say, but because words felt too small now. "It is real," Zara replied. "But not as your people understand reality for you. Reality is fixed stone and steel for us. It is fluid like water shaped by will and shared intent." Lisa looked down at her hands. They shimmered slightly in the low light veins, tracing faint gold beneath her skin. She flexed her fingers and watched as tiny sparks of light danced between them. "Am I still human?" she asked. "You are becoming something new," Zara said. "The old you is not gone. It is simply expanding like a seed, breaking open to become a tree outside." The ship stars blurred into streaks of color as they entered a region of space Lisa had never seen before. Nebulae swirled in slow motion, clouds of gas glowing with inner fire. Planets drifted without orbits as if dreaming in place and far ahead. A great ring of light hung in the void, pulsing like a beacon. "What is that?" Lisa asked. "The gathering place," Zara said, "where the old ones meet those who have chosen unity across 1,000 worlds." Lisa felt a tremor in her chest. Not fear, but awe so deep. It ached. "Will they accept me?" "They already have." Zara said your choice was the only key. As the ship drew closer, Lisa saw structures forming in the ring. Not buildings, but living architectures grown from light, and memory towers spiraled upward like frozen music bridges arched between them, made of woven starlight, and beings moved through it, all their forms as varied as the stars themselves. Some winged, some many-limbed, some barely solid at all. Yet all moved in harmony. The vessel slowed and settled into a docking cradle made of interlocking petals that closed gently around it like a flower at dusk. "Come," Zara said. They stepped out, not onto metal or stone, but onto a surface that felt like walking on air, yet held them firm. The air smelled of ozone and something sweet like blooming night flowers. Beings turned to look, not with curiosity but with welcome, their eyes holding galaxies within them. Lisa kept her gaze forward, focusing on Zara's back. The Queen walked with calm authority, yet Lisa sensed a new softness in her posture, as if she too carried a quiet joy. They entered a wide open space at the center of the ring, a plaza of sorts where the ground was clear, and the sky above showed not stars, but shifting scenes from countless worlds, a desert blooming after rain, a city rising from ocean depths, a forest singing in unison. In the middle stood a pool of still water, black as obsidian yet glowing from within. "This is the mirror," Zara said. "It shows not your face but your truth." Lisa approached slowly. Her reflection did not appear. Instead, the water showed her standing on Earth as a child, planting a sunflower in her grandmother's yard. Then as a teen, staring up at the sky during a meteor shower. Then as an adult in the Mars habitat, holding a dying crewmate's hands, she saw herself saying yes to Zara. And then she saw herself older, standing beside the Queen on a world of crystal cities, her skin fully luminous, her eyes holding the same amber glow as Zara's. As that may it is one path. Zara said there are many, but all begin with the same choice. Lisa reached out and touched the water. It did not ripple. Instead, it flowed up her arm like liquid light, soaking into her skin, filling her with warmth. She gasped as memories, not her own, flooded in. She saw Zara as a young sovereign standing alone on a dying world, her people scattered by war, her home burning in violet flames. She saw Zara make a vow not of revenge but of healing, to find others who believed in unity, not conquest. She saw centuries pass as Zara traveled the stars, gathering the willing, healing the broken, building bridges between species that had once seen only enemies. And she saw the moment Zara first saw Lisa's file on the human outpost, not as data but as a spark in the dark. You chose me because you saw yourself in me, Lisa whispered. Zara placed a hand on her shoulder. Yes, Lisa turned to face the crowd that had gathered silently around the plaza, beings of every shape and origin watching, not with judgment but with hope. What do I do now? You listen, Zara said. Then you speak, then you build. Over the next days, Lisa learned not through lessons but through sharing. She sat with a being made of woven vines who taught her how to grow light, into shelter. She walked with a floating entity of pure sound who showed her how to heal pain with harmony. She even shared a meal with a creature of living stone who communicated through taste, each bite carrying a story. Through it all, Zara stayed, near, not hovering but present like a steady Starone evening as the ring dimmed to mimic night. Lisa sat on the edge of the plaza looking out at the endless dark dew. They ever miss their old lives, the ones who came here? Some do, Zara said, sitting beside her. But missing is not loss, it is memory, and memory is a gift. It reminds us why we chose to Growly. The thought of her brother's drawing tucked in her old uniform pocket, now stored in the ship's memory core. She hoped he would understand. I want to send a message to Earth, she said. Just one. Zara nodded. You may. The next morning, Lisa stood before a smooth stone that served as a communicator. She placed her palm on it and spoke. Not with her voice, but with her heart. Hey, Mom. Hey, Ben, it's me. I'm safe. I'm more than safe. I'm becoming something new. Don't worry for me. Be proud. I said yes to a question that changed everything. I love you always. The stone absorbed her words and sent them folding through space. Not as radio waves, but as feeling pure and clear. Back at the plaza, Zara waited with a small object in her lower hands, a seed shaped like a teardrop, glowing faintly blue. This is for you, she said. Plant it where you feel the need for hope. Lisa took it and felt it pulse in, her palm like a tiny heartbeat. Where should I plant it? Wherever your heart leads, Lisa knew at once. They returned to the ship and set a course, not for Earth, not for any known colony, but for a dead world on the edge of human space once called Ceres. Prime, a planet stripped bare by war and greed, its oceans gone, its cities ruins, its people scattered. The ship descended through gray clouds and landed in the center of an empty city. Skeletons of towers clawing at a sickly sky. Liza stepped out alone, the seed warm in her hand. She walked until she found a cracked plaza where a fountain once stood, now dry and broken. She knelt and pressed the seed into the ash for a long moment. Nothing happened. Then a soft chime echoed through the air. A single green shoot pushed through the dust. Then another and another. Within minutes, vines spread across the ground. Flowers bloomed with petals of light, and the air grew clean and sweet. From the ship, Zara watched as Lisa stood in the center of the rebirth. Her form, now fully radiant, her hair shimmering like starlight, her eyes holding both human warmth and alien wisdom. The seed was not just life. It was invitation, and far off in the ruins, figures began to emerge, hesitant at first, then faster, drawn by the light, by the scent, by the hope. Lisa turned and opened her arms. They came, children first, then elders, then warriors who dropped their weapons and wept. Zara joined her side as the first rain in a century began to fall. Not water, but liquid light that healed. As it touched, this is your purpose now. Zara said, not to rule, but to awaken. Lisa looked at the faces around her, human and soon to be more, and nodded. She had said yes to a question. Now she would spend forever answering it with her life. The ship waited. Nearby, its hull gleaming under the newborn sky, and in the heart of the ruined city, a garden of light grew taller with every breath. The end. The alien queen looked at me and boldly asked, Are you single? Human Lisa stood alone on the observation deck of the human outpost orbiting Proxima Centauri b. Her fingers pressed against the cool glass as she watched the massive alien vessel drift. Silently into docking position, it was shaped like a coiled serpent made of iridescent metal that shimmered with hues of violet and gold. No weapons, no engines visible. Just smooth, impossible curves that defied human engineering. She had been chosen for this first contact mission, not because she was a diplomat or a scientist, but because she was calm under pressure, a trait that had saved her crew during the Mars habitat collapse 3 years ago now. At 28, she was the youngest human ever to face an alien sovereign. The airlock hissed open and a figure emerged, tall and slender with skin like polished obsidian that caught the light in shifting patterns. Her eyes glowed soft amber, and 6 slender limbs moved with liquid grace. 2 arms held close to her torso while the lower pair gestured elegantly as she walked. Her head was crowned with delicate, crystalline filaments that pulsed faintly with each breath. Lisa bowed slightly as protocol demanded, but the alien queen did not return the gesture instead. She stopped just 3 feet away, tilted her head, and spoke in perfect English, her voice low and resonant like distant thunder. The alien queen looked at me and boldly asked, "Are you single?" Human Lisa blinked, startled, not by the question itself but by the directness, the lack of preamble, the way those glowing eyes seemed to pierce through her uniform and into her very thoughts. She replied simply, keeping her voice steady. The queen nodded slowly, a gesture that Lisa recognized from hours of studying alien communication logs. It meant acknowledgement, not agreement. "My name is Zara," the queen said. "I have studied your species for many cycles. You are curious, resilient, and strangely emotional. Yet you build things that last, you plant gardens in the void, you sing to your dead, you name your star." Lisa swallowed hard, her throat dry. "I am Lisa." Zara stepped closer, the air around her humming faintly with energy. "You are the one they sent to speak for your Kindi." "Speak only for myself," Lisa said. "But I carry their hopes." A flicker of something crossed Zara's face. Amusement, perhaps, or sorrow. It was hard to tell with features so alien, yet her voice softened slightly. "Then you carry a heavy burden." They walked together along the deck, the queen's lower limbs brushing the floor with barely a sound. Lisa noticed how the alien's presence made the station lights dim and brighten as if responding to her mood. "Why did you ask if I was single?" Lisa finally ventured. Zara paused before a viewport showing the swirling blue and green marble of Proxima B below. "Because among my people, union is not just bond. It is purpose. When 2 choose each other, they merge their life streams, not just bodies, but memories, dreams, futures. Your species does this in fragments. You call it love, but you do not understand its full shape." Lisa felt a strange warmth in her chest. Not fear, not attraction, but recognition, as if something deep inside her had been waiting to hear those words. "We are learning," she said. Zara turned fully to face her. "Then you are ready for what to see?" Before Lisa could ask what that meant, the queen extended her upper right-hand palm open in the center. A soft light bloomed, not harsh, like a laser, but gentle like dawn. It hovered between them, pulsing in time with Lisa's heartbeat. "Touch it," Zara urged. Lisa hesitated only a second, then reached out. The moment her fingers met the light, the world dissolved. She was no longer on the stations. She stood in a vast crystalline forest under twin suns, the air thick with the scent of something sweet and metallic around her. Beings moved in harmony, their forms shifting fluidly between solid and light. They sang, not with voices, but with color, each note a ripple of gold or sapphire that spread through the trees and into the sky. "This is my home." Zara's voice echoed inside her mind, not through sound but through feeling. "This is where my people began, where we learned to share." Not just thoughts but being. Lisa felt tears on her cheeks, though she did not remember crying. Then the vision shifted. She saw Earth not as it was, but as it could be. Cities grown from living wood, oceans cleaned by swarms of tiny machines, children laughing, under domes that filtered starlight into rainbows. "This is your future," Zara whispered. "If you choose what? To join us, not as subjects, not as allies, but as equals. Your species is young, but your heart is old. You have known pain and still you hope. That is rare in the universe." Lisa pulled her hand back, the light fading, the station returning around her, but the vision remained burned into her mind. "Why me?" she asked. "Because you did not flinch," Zara said. "When I asked if you were single, you answered. Truth, you did not boast, you did not lie, you simply were. That is the seed of unity." Lisa looked down at her own hands, then back at the queen. "You want me to stay with you?" "I want you to decide," Zara said. "If you say yes, you will leave this place forever. Your body will change, your mind will expand, you will never again see Earth as you knew it. But you will help shape what comes next. And if I say noth, then we leave you in peace." Zara said. Your species will continue alone. We do not force union. It must be chosen. Freely Lisa closed her eyes. She thought of her mother's garden back in Oregon, the smell of wet soil and lavender. She thought of her little brother who had sent her a drawing of an alien queen before this mission. She thought of all the lonely nights on the station staring at the stars, wondering if anyone out there was wondering the same about her. When she opened her eyes, Zara was still watching her patiently. I say yes. The queen's filaments flared bright white for a moment, then settled into a steady glow. She smiled a gesture Lisa had never seen before but understood instantly. Then Komazara took Lisa's hand again. Not with the light this time, but with skin that felt warm and alive. As they walked toward the alien ship, Lisa felt something shift inside her. Not pain, not fear, but a quiet certainty like the first note of a song she had always known but never heard. The airlock closed behind them. On the station monitors, alarms blared red, but no one came to stop them. The alien vessel detached from the docking arm and rose silently into the star-strewn dark below on Proxima B. The first human colony slept unaware that their future had just been rewritten by a simple question and a single honest answer. Lisa stood at the heart of the ship, now transformed, her skin shimmering faintly with the same violet gold as the hull. Her mind humming with new thoughts. Not all her own, but shared. Zara stood beside her, one hand resting gently on her shoulder. You are no longer just human, Zara said. Lisa looked out at the endless stars and smiled. No, she said, I am more, and for the first time in her life she felt whole. The ship turned toward the galactic core where 1,000 civilizations waited, not with weapons, but with open hands. Somewhere far behind them, Earth turned on its axis. Children dreamed of aliens, lovers whispered promises into the night, and in the vast quiet between stars a new story began. One built not on conquest, but on choice, not on fear, but on faith. And it started with a woman who said yes when an alien queen asked if she was single. Rain fell in soft silver sheets over the reborn city of Ceres Prime. Not water, but liquid light that pooled in the cracks of old streets and rose as mist, carrying whispers of healing. Lisa stood at the edge of the new garden, her bare feet rooted in soil that hummed with life around her. People moved with purpose, no longer broken, but becoming something brighter. Their eyes catching the glow of the blooming flora. Their hands weaving shelters from vines that grew at their touch. Zara watched. From a distance, her 6 limbs folded in quiet contemplation. She had seen this before on other worlds, but never with humans. Humans were fast, not in speed but in heart. They leapt before they looked, yet somehow always landed on hope. Lisa turned and walked toward her, the ground lighting beneath each step. They are ready, she said. Zara nodded, the filaments on her head pulsing a gentle blue. Then, it is time. They returned to the ship, not to leave but to open it. The vessel unfolded like a flower, its inner chambers revealing rooms filled with knowledge not stored in data, but in living memory crystals that sang when touched. The people of Ceres Prime entered slowly. At first, children leading the way, drawn by curiosity, unburdened by fear. They placed small hands on the walls and gasped as visions filled their minds. Star maps, peace treaties, songs from dead worlds, recipes for growing food in poisoned soil. Elders wept as they saw their ancestors not as ghosts but as guides, their faces smiling in the light. Lisa moved among them, answering questions not with words but with shared feeling. When a young man asked how to forgive those who had burned his home, she took his hand and showed him a memory of Zara standing before her enemies, not with weapons but with open palms, offering not judgment but choice. He cried, then planted a seed where his house once stood. Days turned to weeks. The city transformed. Towers once gray now climbed with luminous ivy streets. Once silent, now echoed, with music made from wind and crystal and voices raised not in anger but in harmony. But not all welcomed the change. One evening, as the twin moons rose, a group arrived from the outer wastes, armored in scavenged metal, their faces scarred by old wars, their eyes hard with suspicion. Their leader, a woman named Rhea, stepped forward, her voice rough like grinding stone. You bring pretty lights and soft songs, but what of strength? What of survival? Lisa met her gaze without flinching. Strength is not in armor, she said. It is in the choice to grow even when broken. Rhea spat on the glowing ground, the light dimmed where it landed. Show me, then prove your way is not weakness. Zara stepped forward. Then, for the first time in weeks, you seek proof, she said, then face the mirror. She led them to the plaza where the obsidian pool still rested. Rhea hesitated, then knelt. The water showed her not her past, but her fear. A child hiding in a bunker, while the sky burned, her mother's hand gripping hers. Then Goner Hia screamed and pulled back. That is not me, it is part of you, Zara said, but not Elisa approached slowly. You do not have to forget the pain, she said. But you can choose what grows from it. Hia looked at the garden, at the children laughing at the elders, teaching the young how to weave light into cloth. She looked at her own hands, calloused and scarred. Then she reached into her coat and pulled out a rusted knife. For a moment Lisa tensed. But Rhea turned and drove the blade into the earth. Let it rot, she said. Let something better grow. The knife dissolved into dust, and from that spot a flower bloomed, petals sharp as blades yet glowing with warmth. Rhea wept. From that day the outer clans came not as warriors but as seekers. The garden spread beyond, the city into the wastes, turning ash into meadows and silence into song. Lisa knew this was only the beginning. One night she stood with Zara on the highest tower, watching the horizon pulse with new life. Will it last, she asked. Only if they choose it. Every day, Zara replied, just as you did. Lisa thought of Earth so far away, still fractured, still fighting. What if they never choose? Then we wait, Zara said. Or we go to them. Lisa turned to her, eyes wide. You would bring this to Earth only if you lead the way. The weight of it settled on her shoulders, not heavy but purposeful. She had left as a human, returned as something more. And now she would go back. Not to conquer, not to preach, but to invite. Preparations began not with engines or weapons, but with seed songs and stories. The people of Ceres Prime wove a new ship, not of metal but of living wood and light, grown from the first garden. Its heart a crystal that held the memory of every choice made in hope. Elisa stood at its center as it rose from the city, not with fire but with a sigh of wind. Below thousands watched, hands raised not in farewell but in blessing. Zara stood beside her. Are you ready? Lisa looked at the stars and saw not distance but connection. Yes, the ship leapt into the sky, leaving a trail of blooming light behind it. Crossed the void, not in months but in moments space. Bending not by force but by intent, Earth appeared blue and fragile, wrapped in clouds and scars. They did not land in a capital or a military base. They came to a refugee camp on the edge of a dried ocean where children played in dust and mothers shared one cup of water. The ship settled softly. Lisa stepped out, alone. A boy saw her first, his eyes wide, not with fear but wonder. Are you an angel? No. Lisa knelt and smiled. I am like you. She opened her hand and let a seed fall. It sprouted instantly, a small plant with leaves that glowed like fireflies. The boy reached out and touched it. Warm. Lisa nodded. The mothers gathered, then the elders, the lost, the angry, the broken. She spoke not of aliens or queens, but of choice. You do not have to be what they made you, she said. You can be what you choose. Some laughed, some turned away. But a girl with burns on her arms stepped forward. Melissa took her hand, and together, they planted another seed. This time the whole camp watched as green spread across the dustward, traveled fast. Not through news feeds, but through feet, through whispers, through hope. Governments sent drones, then soldiers. But when the soldiers landed, they found not an invasion but a garden, and in the center Lisa standing with children of every nation, their hands in the soil. One soldier lowered his weapon and knelt. His commander shouted over the comm, stand down. But the soldier looked up at the sky where the living ship hung like a second moon and said, no, he planted a seed of his own. Within weeks camps became villages, villages became cities of light. Old borders faded not by war but by shared bread, shared songs, shared silence. Lisa moved, among them, always listening, always offering. Never forcing. Zara remained aboard the ship, watching from above. Not as a ruler but as a witness. One evening, as Lisa rested under a tree grown from the first seed on Earth, a woman approached her, face lined with years and sorrow. I lost everything, she said, my home, my son, my name. Lisa took her hand. Then let us find what remains. They sat together until dawn. the woman's tears watering a new shoot that bloomed with petals, shaped like a child's smile. The woman stayed, and so it spread, not overnight, not without pain, but with patience. Years passed. Lisa no longer looked human. Her form now fully merged with the light, her voice carrying the hum of 1,000 stars. Yet her eyes still held the same kindness that had once calmed a Mars habitat in crisis. She stood one day on a hill overlooking a world reborn, forests of crystal, growing beside ancient oaks, oceans clear enough to see cities of coral singing in harmony, deserts blooming with flowers that stored starlight for the night. Zara joined her. "You did it." "No," Lisa said, "we did." The ship hovered nearby, its purpose fulfilled yet ready. "What?" No, Lisa looked up at the stars. "There are other worlds, other broken places, other hearts waiting for a single yes." Zara smiled, the filaments on her head flaring gold. "Then they boarded the ship not as queen and human, but as partners in purpose, as it rose into the sky. Children below waved, not with fear but with joy, knowing they were not alone in the universe, and far beyond Earth in the quiet dark another seed waited. Another question, another choice, the end. The ship sailed through the silent sea between galaxies, its hull breathing softly like a sleeping animal. Lisa stood at the forward chamber, her hands resting on the living glass that showed not stars, but echoes of lives yet to be touched. She wore no clothes now, only light woven around her form, shifting with her thoughts. Zara stood beside her, not speaking but sharing the quiet understanding that had grown between them over centuries. They had left Earth behind, not abandoned, but released. Like a bird from a healed hand, the world now thrived not by their presence but by the choices its people made every day. Gardens of unity bloomed in every nation. Children learned not just math and history, but how to listen to the wind, how to speak to soil, how to hold grief without letting it harden their hearts. But the universe was vast, and pain was not unique to one world. Their destination was a system known only in whispers, a place where time itself had cracked and spilled sorrow into the void. The planet Kalis orbited a dying star, its surface scarred by wars so old the weapons had turned to dust. Yet the hatred remained, passed down through generations like a curse. As the ship entered the system, alarms did not blare, but the walls dimmed to a deep violet. "A sign of caution, they are watching us." Zara said. Lisa nodded. She could feel it not with eyes, but with the part of her that now lived in the space between heartbeats. Below, the planet showed no cities, only ruins and trenches, filled with bones, some ancient, some fresh. They landed not in a field but in a crater where two armies had clashed just days before. Smoke still rose from broken machines, and the air tasted of metal. And Lisa stepped out alone. The ground did not welcome her. It resisted, cold and dead. She knelt and placed her palm flat. Nothing happened. She waited. A wind howled through the ruins, carrying voices not of the living but of the dead, trapped in loops of rage and regret. Zara appeared behind her. "They do not want to be healed," she said. "Maybe not," Lisa replied, "but they might want to stop hurting." She closed her eyes and began to sing, not with her voice, but with her being, a low hum that vibrated through the soil, up into the bones of the dead, and into the hearts of those hiding in the ruins. At first nothing. Then a single figure emerged from the smoke, a young man, his face half burned, his uniform torn. He held a rusted rifle but did not raise it. "What are you?" he asked, his voice raw. "I am someone who asked a question once," Lisa said, and said yes. He frowned, then spat. "Your kind brings pretty songs, but we have real pain." "I know pain," Lisa said. "I held my friend as she died on Mars. I watched Earth burn from orbit. I stood in the ashes of Ceres Prime." He lowered his rifle slightly. "Then you know there is no fixing this." "Maybe not fixing," she said, "but remembering." She reached into her chest, not physically, but with intent, and pulled out a memory. Not hers, but shared a vision of the first garden on Ceres. Prime. The moment Rhea planted her knife and let it become a flower. She offered it to him. He hesitated, then touched her hand. The vision flooded him. He saw not magic, but choice. He saw himself as a boy before the war, playing in a field of red grass, his sister laughing beside him. He wept when he looked up. His eyes were different, not healed but open. He dropped his rifle. It clattered on the stone. Then he knelt and pressed his palm to the ground. A single green shoot pushed through the ash from the ruins. Others came drawn by the light, by the song, by the sight of an enemy weeping. Lisa did not speak to them. She sat and waited. An old woman approached, her face lined with decades of loss. "You think a flower will end our war?" "No," Lisa said. "But it might remind you why you started it." The woman stared, then sat beside her. They watched the shoot grow into a sapling, its leaves shimmering with soft light. By nightfall, both armies had gathered around the tree, not as enemies, but as witnesses. No one spoke. No one fought. They simply stood in the quiet. And in that quiet, something old began to crack over the next weeks. Lisa moved through the camps not as a leader, but as a listener. She sat with mothers who had lost sons, with soldiers who could not sleep with, children who had never seen peace. She did not offer answers, only presence. Zara stayed near the ship, tending to the living core that held the memories of all the worlds they had touched. One evening, a boy no older than 10 approached Lisa. His hands stained with soot. "Can you bring my father back?" "No," Lisa said gently. "But I can help you remember him in a way that does not hurt." She took his hand, and together they planted a seed where his father had fallen. As it grew, the boy saw not a ghost, but feeling his father's laugh, his rough hands teaching him to carve wood, his voice singing an old lullaby. The boy smiled for the first time in years. Word spread faster than bullets ever had. The war did not end with a treaty, but with a tree, then another. Then, a forest. The dying star above seemed to brighten as if encouraged. Lisa knew they could not stay forever. Their path was not to fix, but to awaken. One morning, as mist curled around the new forest, she stood with Zara at the edge of the camp. "They are ready," she said. Zara nodded. The ship opened its petals and offered passage, not to escape, but to learn. A few chose to go: the boy, the young soldier, the old woman. They stepped aboard, not as refugees, but as students. The ship lifted gently, leaving behind a world no longer broken, but becoming. As they sailed into the dark, Lisa looked back one last time. The forest glowed like a beacon on. The ship, the newcomers, sat in silence, overwhelmed by the living walls, the singing crystals, the air that tasted of rain and hope. Lisa joined them. "You will not be changed against your will," she said. "You will only be asked to choose." The boy looked up. "What if I choose wrong?" "There is no wrong," she said, "only path." She nodded and placed his hand on the wall. A soft chime answered. Zara watched from the bridge, her filaments glowing with quiet pride. They traveled then not to the next war, but to the next silence, a world that had gone quiet, not from violence, but from loneliness, a planet where the last of a species lived. Alone in a city of ghosts, they landed in a square overgrown with weeds, the buildings empty, the streets swept clean by wind. An old being emerged from a tower, tall and thin, with skin like dry paper, its eyes milky with age. "You are late," it said, its voice like rustling leaves. "We are here now," Lisa replied. The being laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "I am the last of the Vera. My people chose silence over noise, unity over chaos. And in the end, we forgot how to speak. Even to ourselves." Lisa stepped closer. "Then let us remember together." She sat on the steps of the tower and began to hum the same song she had sung on Kalis. The old Vera listened. Then slowly, it joined in. Their voices wove together, not in harmony, but in healing. From the empty buildings, others emerged, not ghosts, but survivors who had hidden in shame, thinking they were the only ones left. They gathered in the square. Lisa showed them how to plant seeds, not in soil, but in memory. They grew trees that bore fruit shaped like faces. Each one a lost loved one, not returned but honored. The city came alive, not with crowds, but with connection. The last Vera wept as it held a fruit that looked like its child. "Thank you," it whispered. Lisa bowed. "No, thank you for remembering." When it was time to leave, the Vera gave her a gift, a single scale from its chest that pulsed with the rhythm of a forgotten heart. "Carry it," she said. "So our song is not lost." Lisa placed it over her own heart. It fused with her light. The ship sailed on through nebulae and voids, past sleeping giants and newborn stars. Lisa stood at the bow, feeling the weight of every yes she had carried. Zara joined her. "You are tired. A little rest then." But Lisa shook her head. "There is always another world, another heart waiting." Zara smiled. Then, The ship turned toward a distant spiral where a blue planet spun wrapped in clouds and crees. Lisa took a deep breath and stepped into the next silence. The end. The blue planet hung in the void like a tear caught in the eye of the cosmos, its clouds swirling with storms not of weather but of fear. Lisa felt it before the ship even crossed the orbit, a deep hum of anxiety vibrating through space. Not loud, but constant like a heart beating too fast. Zara stood beside her at the viewing wall. Her filaments dimmed to a soft gray. "This world does not know it is dying," she said. Lisa nodded. "They are too busy fighting each other to see the ground crumbling. Beneath them, the planet was not scarred by war like Kalis nor empty like Vera. It was crowded loud and bright cities of steel and glass climbing into the sky while the oceans choked on waste and the air grew thick with poison. Yet no one called it an emergency. They called it progress. They landed not in a war zone but in a marketplace under a sky choked with drones and neon signs. People rushed past each other, eyes down on glowing screens, faces tight with worry or anger. Lisa stepped out, barefoot onto hot pavement that smelled of oil and burnt sugar. No one noticed her. She walked through the crowd. Not pushing, not speaking, just being. A child bumped into her, dropped a small toy and looked up. For a second their eyes met. The child saw, not a stranger but something familiar like a dream half remembered. Then a hand yanked the child away. "Keep moving," the mother snapped without looking at Lisa. Zara watched from the ship's shadow. "They are blind," she said. "Not blind," Lisa replied. "Just afraid." She found a small patch of dirt between two buildings where weeds struggled to grow. She knelt and placed her hand on the ground. The pavement cracked. A single green shoot pushed through. A man in a suit stopped mid-stride, stared, then shook his head and walked on. But a woman selling flowers from a cart saw it. She left her stall and knelt beside Lisa. "What is that?" Hope, Lisa said. The woman touched the leaf and gasped. It glowed faintly in her palm. "Me name is Maya," she whispered. Lisa smiled. "I am Lisa." Maya looked around, then lowered her voice. "They will pave over this by morning. Then we plant again," Lisa said. Maya stayed as night fell. The shoot grew into a small tree, its branches heavy with blossoms that gave off soft light. People began to notice. Not all stopped, but some died. A teenager with tired eyes sat beneath it and cried for the first time in years. An old man placed his hand on the trunk and remembered his grandmother's gardine. A couple arguing fell silent as the light touched their faces. By dawn a small crowd had gathered. Then the authorities came in uniforms with badges and stern faces. "This is illegal," one said. "This is private property." Liza stood. "It belongs to no one." She said, "It belongs to life." The officer reached for a tool to cut it down, but Maya stepped in front of him. "Touch it and you answer to all of us." To their surprise, others moved forward too. Not shouting, not fighting, just standing shoulder to shoulder. The officer hesitated. Then a drone overhead broadcast the scene live. Millions watched as a single tree held back an army of rules. The officer lowered his tool. "We will be back," he muttered, but he did not return. The tree remained, and Grilissa did not stay in one place. She walked the city planting seeds in cracks in sidewalks, in abandoned lots, on rooftops. Each one bloomed with light and memory. People began to gather, not in protest but in presence. They shared food under the trees, sang old songs, told stories of when the sky was blue and the rivers ran clean. The government tried to shut it down, at first with laws, then with walls, then with silence. But silence could not kill what grew from choice. One evening, Lisa sat with Maya on a rooftop garden. They had grown together. "Do you think it will last?" Maya asked. "Only if they keep choosing it," Lisa said. Maya looked out at the city below, where hundreds of small lights now dotted the dark. Not from street lamps, but from living trees. "I never believed in magic," she said. "This is not magic," Lisa replied. "It is remembering." The next day, a young engineer came to the garden. "I built machines to make life easier," she said. "But all I did was make people lonelier." She placed a small device at the base of a treelet. "It goes," she said. The device dissolved into the roots, and the tree bloomed, with petals that hummed with gentle energy. Others followed. Artists left their screens to paint with flower dyes. Doctors opened clinics under the tree. Teachers held classes in the gardens. The city changed not by force, but by invitation. Lisa knew it. It was time to move on. But before she left, she gathered the people in the central garden. "You do not need me," she said. "You never did. You only needed to remember your own light." Maya hugged her tightly. "Will we see you again?" "When you need to remember," Lisa said. "I will be there." She returned to the ship Zara waited. "They are ready," she said. "Yes," Lisa replied. The ship rose silently into the smoggy sky. Below, the city pulsed with new life. As they sailed into the stars, Lisa felt a new signal, not from a planet, but from deep space, a faint pulse like a heartbeat trapped in ice. "What is that?" Zara asked. "A world that froze its heart to survive," Lisa said. They changed course. The journey took weeks through fields of cosmic dust and silent comets. Finally, they found a planet wrapped in endless winter, its surface smooth and white. No wind, no sound, no movement. They landed on a plain of glassy ice. Lisa stepped out. The cold did not bite it. Simply was. She walked until she found a crack in the ice beneath it. Something glowed faintly blue. She knelt and placed her hand on the surface. The ice did not melt but softened like glass, becoming clear. Below lay a city not ruined but preserved, every building, every street, every face frozen in time, and in the center a being sat on a throne of crystal, its eyes closed. Its hands folded. Lisa pressed harder. "Awaken," she whispered. Not with sound but with feeling. The being's eyes opened. Slowly, the ice began to recede. Not vanishing but turning to mist that rose like breath. The city-stirred people emerged from doorways, their skin pale, their eyes wide with confusion. They had chosen long ago to sleep rather than face a dying sun, but the sun had not died. It had waited. Lisa walked among them, offering warmth not from fire but from presence. A child touched her hand and gasped. "You are warm." "So are you," Lisa said. "You just forgot." They gathered in the central square as the last of the ice melted. The leader of the frozen ones approached. "Why did you wake us?" "Because the universe still needs your song," Lisa said. The leader looked at the sky, now clear and filled with stars. "We thought we were alone." "You were never alone," Lisa said, only quiet. They planted seeds in the thawing soil. The first bloom was white like snow but glowed with inner fire. The people wept as color returned to their world. Lisa stayed long enough to see the first rain fall, not frozen but soft and warm. Then she returned to the ship. Zara waited. Another world, healed, not healed. Lisa said, "Awakened." They sailed on through the arms of galaxies, past black holes that sang in frequencies only hearts could hear. Lisa stood at the bow, feeling the weight of every hand she had held, every tear she had witnessed, every yes she had honored. She was no longer human, no longer alien. Was bridge, and bridges do not stop. They reach ahead. A new signal pulsed, faint but steady. A world on the edge of silence. A world waiting for a single question. "Are you ready?" Lisa smiled. Yes. The ship turned toward the light, and the journey continued. The end.